If debt is used, the appropriate rate of return is not the return to total capital, that is project IRR, but equity IRR. We shall now develop a cash flow to calculate the equity IRR. It costs us $900 million to build this facility. And assuming we use 80% debt, the debt amount calculated using this formula equals 0.8 times E2. That means our debt is $720 million, and the remaining $180 million is our equity. Again, you can simply calculate using equals 0.2 times E2 equals 180 million. Again, assuming the discount rate is 15%, our initial outlay, or equity, is minus 180 million. Since we are calculating the return of equity, and the only outlay from the equity holder's perspective is the initial equity that they have paid, there are no other initial costs incurred. We will start to receive our revenue when the facility is completed, and in this case, it is in year 4. Our revenue is $250 million for each year for the next 15 years. So, we can copy the 250 across all the 15 years. The same thing with maintenance. We start to incur this when the facility is in operation, minus 15 million for each year, and we can copy this across the next 15 years. Similarly, the cost of coal is minus 30 million, and we copy this for the next 15 years. The gross cash flow can be calculated by summing up the cash flows for each year. Using the Excel formula equals sum B9 to B12, we can copy this formula for each of the years. In the case when debt is used, we need to make repayment to the bank or debtor. The repayment calculated earlier is 84.12 million per year starting in year 2. We should therefore put in 84.12, and we have to repay this for the next 15 years based on the term agreed with the bank. If we take the gross cash flow minus the repayment, it should give us a net cash flow. The formula is therefore equals B13 plus B15. Again, note that I have put in a plus instead of minus, since all the cells for repayment we have already put in a negative sign. If you copy the formula across, you can determine the net cash flow for each of the years. In our earlier videos, we have determined the discount factor. Multiplying the net cash flows with the discount factor, we can determine the discounted net cash flows. If you sum all the discounted net cash flows, you should arrive at your NPV. In this case, it is 234.52 million. As in the previous case, you can use the Excel formula to calculate the NPV, and it should arrive at the same answer. Similarly, the equity IRR can be easily calculated using the Excel IRR formula, and the equity IRR in this case is calculated for net cash flows from B16 to S16 and is determined as 25.12%. In other words, 25.12% is the return on equity if 80% debt is used.